Joe Biden's not wasting any time when it comes to building bridges at tonight's convention, using this first night to showcase one of the party's most popular progressives, who hasn't always been a member of the Democratic Party. Bernie Sanders finished second to Biden this year and to Clinton last cycle, and addressed his loyal followers then at her convention during a time of Russia-induced party acrimony.
Hillary Clinton must become the next president of the United States.
How will Sanders tackle a similar role tonight? One of his most famous supporters joins us now. Michael Moore is an Oscar-winning filmmaker. He's host of Rumble with Michael Moore, the podcast, and he's a political surrogate. Moore campaigned for Sanders, spoke at his rallies. In fact, you may remember we caught up with him out on the campaign trail this year in New Hampshire. There we were, right after one of the rallies you spoke at, Michael. And I don't know about you, but that feels like way longer than 6 months ago to me.
Yeah, it could have been the 1950s. I mean, that feels like ancient history in some way. But maybe that's a good thing because, I have this weird optimism that we're going to come out on the other side of this pandemic better than we were, and creating a better country than the one we had. So I am that optimist in that sense. By the way, when you say that I was a surrogate, it's always a weird word, like I was on the campaign trail carrying Bernie's baby or something.
Well, words evolve in our culture. I always thought politically surrogate's a funny word, but it means something that takes us into the very first thing I was going to ask you about, which is at the time you were making the case for Bernie Sanders, and as one does in any contest, making the case against others. I understand that Sanders tonight is going to argue the best thing his supporters can do is vote early and take their friends to vote for Joe Biden. But here's some of how you were sounding then. Let's take a look.
Joe Biden is the center. Joe Biden is this year's Hillary. Joe Biden is not going to excite the base to get out there and vote on November 3rd, 2020. 70% of the people voting next year are either women, people of color, or young people between the ages of 18 and 35. That's 70%. Who is going to excite that 18 to 35-year-old person? Who's going to excite women and African Americans and Hispanic people?
Now there's a Biden-Harris ticket. What do you say tonight, Michael?
Well, first of all, the one demographic that Joe Biden is polling best in, of all demographics, is the under 35 demographic. So clearly he listened to me, which I knew he was watching your show and others back then and took my advice. No, seriously. I think that, he won. So, but even your own poll today, the NBC poll showed that when asked, why are you voting for Joe Biden, 58% said because he's not Trump. That's their number one reason. So I look at that and I worry because people do need to get excited and do need to understand that the Ari Melber, the Michael Moore that you showed there from January, I think we're different people now after what we've gone through. I am. I've had a lot of time to think and to do and to create during this time. You can, speak for yourself, but I think that Joe Biden, I was shocked that he picked Kamala Harris, frankly. I thought for certain he would swing to the right and pick Susan Rice. And instead, he swung to the left and picked Kamala Harris.
So let's dig in on that because we've seen, I tell viewers, we always try to follow the evidence. Tim Kaine's joining us later this hour. But Tim Kaine did not generate the evidence of excitement in the first week that Kamala Harris has. For whatever range of reasons, people may feel, is this nice or mean? No, we track the evidence. Activists, small dollar donors, new donors, people are going through this recession, people who said, Kamala's on the ticket, they gave their first $10 ever. She's smashed records that Kaine or anyone else would have held. Are you, as someone who's coming from the Sanders wing, saying you feel more enthused because she's on this ticket?
Oh, I think it's a very good sign. But I'm enthused anyways. I mean, even the 58% who are saying they're voting for Biden because he's not Trump. Great, that's fine. Any way into it you can find is important because we must remove Donald J. Trump. That is job one for all of us. And I think that, somebody was asking me today, well, how do you feel about the fact that the platform committee essentially didn't listen much to the Bernie people? And it's pretty much, it's Biden's platform. And I say to them, well, yes, it's the old Biden. It's a lot of the old party people that are on the committee. They've been there for a while. There's some new ones in there. But it doesn't matter what the platform really says anymore, because those are the old days. That's pre-pandemic. That's gone. What matters now is reality. And reality will write the platform during this election. And reality
Well, let's dig into that, because you're making an interesting point. We'll put up on the screen what you're talking about on the issues, because there are issues around environmentalism, around Medicare for all, which is something that Sanders and you have talked about, as well as dealing with student loan debt at a time where the Congress found money for all kinds of other stuff. And we've got people who went to these schools and are coming out and are saddled by that debt, something you and others have talked about. You're saying, though, that in a post-pandemic activist world, what matters more than what the delegates do this week in that platform is what the larger conversation activists do, what we saw this summer, what might push a potential Biden administration over its term?
Absolutely. And I think it'll happen even before the election. I think that because all those candidates talked about how Americans love their private employer health insurance back in the debates, nobody would dare say that now, that tens of millions of people have lost their health insurance. They lost it in a second as soon as the pandemic hit. And but all the other countries, all the other industrialized countries, they didn't lose their health care because it was a right. It was paid for by the government. We must, and I think I'm in the majority on this, we must never be in this situation again where people are ending up without health insurance because of something that happens. It has to be a right and it has to be backed by the government. Same thing for paying off your student loan. That's not going to happen. People don't have the money. There is going to be such a groundswell of citizens who are going to demand of the Biden-Harris administration that things have to operate a different way now, different than the way they were thinking 8 months ago.
Right. And if it's good enough, your emphasis on what we've learned through the pandemic, I mean, if it's good enough for Shake Shack, why isn't it good enough for a 26-year-old nurse who played by the rules and is saddled with this debt and, by the way, is an essential worker pre-vaccine, risking his or her life for us? On the economy, I want to get you on this as well, because, do you know why Roger and Me holds up as a timeless film?
Because I'm in it?
Maybe not would be my answer, but that might not even be the reason, Michael, although I always appreciate your sense of humor, because you go in plain English and you ask all the fundamental questions about if capitalism works, if this is the best we got, why does it seem to give such a raw deal to the people who work hard and play by the rules of capitalism? And that's a fundamental question. And here we are in this time period, this Trump COVID recession, and this is the stock market recovery right here. These stocks, and I was asking Krugman about this recently on our show, these stocks are going up. I think we have this. The V-shaped stock market recovery.
Yeah. And also...
And I'm going to put this up.
Can somebody in the booth put that up? Hello? They're saying, all right, move on to the next. Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry.
There it is. And so here you are, the stock market, Michael. The stock market in August on the right-hand side of your screen is back where it was pre-COVID, and the rest of America, real world, real people, real economy, isn't.
Boom.
Where does that play into the election for you, Michael?
The public knows this. And again, the Biden-Harris ticket has to address this, has to promise people that they're not going to be evicted, they're not going to be foreclosed, that we're going to have a tough go of it for a while, and the government may just have to print money, which will devalue it, and the rich won't like that, and that's just too damn bad. I think that I'm also concerned, because I'm from Michigan, that we just had 2 elections here this month where Rashida Tlaib won in Detroit by a landslide, a Muslim woman. I'm guessing her district, maybe 5% of the district is Muslim women. Ilhan Omar wins by a landslide in Minneapolis. And these are 2 swing states. And in Michigan, Detroit, Milwaukee and Wisconsin, Philly and Pennsylvania, this is where Hillary lost the election. In these 3 states with the African-American vote. and attention must be paid to this. And this is why their voices have to be heard. What does that tell us? That during this pandemic, people who are not Muslim American, who are not Muslim women, overwhelmingly came out and voted for these two women, and for Cori Bush in St. Louis, and for Jamal Bowman in the Bronx and Westchester County. So we have to win this election, and we have to pay attention to what the people want. And this is why I'm so hopeful, because of this uprising, because of this large, what do you guys call it, the largest protest movement in the history of this country. It continues every single day, and this movement will continue after the election. And we would much rather, instead of playing defense against 4 more years of Donald Trump, God forbid that I just say those words, we would rather play offense with Biden and Harris. That's the way we're going to improve this country. That's the way that the chart for the people is going to go up, not just for Wall Street. And I think I'm looking forward to hearing Bernie tonight. AOC gets a whole minute. Hey, you know, that's something.
Are you being sarcastic?
I'm being a little sarcastic, because my friends, this is the future of the Democratic Party, and it's the future of this country, and it should be respected, because it is the way we're going. The majority of this country, every poll you guys show, they want universal health care. They want $15 an hour minimum wage. They want women to have control over their own bodies. Go down the whole damn list. It's the liberal position that the majority of Americans want. And as Trump said, one of his rare honest moments, when he said that when more people vote, Republicans lose. That was just such a genius observation on his part. That's why he is very upfront and in the open trying to suppress the vote, because he knows the American people are not with the Republican Party, and they're certainly not with him. So he's had to admit that the only way we can win is essentially by cheating, and that's pretty sad. But it's such a support of who we all are on the left, liberals, Democrats, whatever you call yourselves, that he's that
you're
afraid
making me
of us.
think of three things, Michael. I was writing down some of what you're saying, as I do from time to time. First of all, the fact that Donald Trump literally admitted what generations of politicians who practice voter suppression would deny in public. That he did admit what you just said about the goal, which obviously is reminiscent of Jeru the Damager, who famously said, "I never knew gangsters confessed in stereo. Why would you go out and confess your crime publicly?" But two other things you said.
Fortunately, we'll always have Jeru, but we will not have Donald Trump. And I will miss Trump's honesty in these rare moments when he says he can shoot someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue and get away with it. That's gangster.
We'll always have Jeru. It's sort of like we'll always have Paris. But you said two other things, Michael. One, perhaps risibly, you said 4 more years of Donald Trump. So I'll look on the internet if anyone clips just that quote out of context. And two, you said, and this is interesting because you do have a gift for clarity with regard to who we see on that stage tonight and passing the torch, which Joe Biden says he wants to do, to Harris and a new generation, a next generation. You said very simply, quote, respect the future. A very interesting theme to think about as we go into this convention night. Michael Moore, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Ari. It's a joyous night. And I think all of us, regardless of where you stand on the spectrum, this is the first step of what can be a great redemption moment for the United States of America.
Really interesting getting your, as I said, Sanders perspective and more. Michael Moore, thank you, sir. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.